Okay, fellow reefers, here's just a little update on what's been going on with the tank. I know it's been a few weeks, but I don't want to just make videos just to make videos. So on the left side of my tank, I was having a little bit of an issue as far as the flow and the shading on some areas down in the sand bed before the acro island. So I decided to take out the entire top rock and then spread out all of the hammers and the frog spawn, and then add my gonies over to the left side because they couldn't appreciate the amount of flow that they was getting where some of the scolies are in the center of the tank. In doing so, it seems like a lot of things surrounding the left side has responded a lot better to the new flow pattern and the amount of light that's going down. And as far as my lights are concerned, I'm using two Radeon XR30 Gen 5 Blues, and I'm running the Radiant color schedules. That's one of the preset templates on this at about 50%. And I run it a little longer because I generally have my tanks run their light program a lot longer than most people. So the lights come on at about 5:30 a.m. and then they go off completely at 9 o'clock p.m. I've never had an issue running my lights on that long of a schedule before, so I don't intend on changing it for any reason. I did, however, increase the flow back to what it used to be on this tank on both my Nero 5s and my Nero 3s, because I felt like I started to lose a little bit of color on some of my acros since I lowered the flow to try to make more of the LPS a bit happier. But once I figured out the proper percentage from the left side, which runs a random schedule between 45 and 65%, and then the right side, Nero, runs a pulse mode at 50%, 3 seconds on and 3 seconds off, it kind of balanced out with having my return pump up to a level 7, which is the Marine Aqua. That return pump is not anything fancy, but it was something that I liked since I set this tank up. And it actually has a wide range of flow, and it has a dual mode where I can put it on pulse instead of just a straightforward, so that can add to the wave action, but it creates a lot more splashing across, which in turn creates a lot more salt creep. As far as dosing is concerned, I'm doing between 30 and 40 mLs of Alpha Reef, and I tend to do that over the course of about 5 minutes around 10 a.m. instead of trying to stretch out that 10 mLs, because I found that when you're dosing a smaller amount of liquids, even though these Versa pumps are really good, it tends to throw out the calibration over time opposed to doing it in one shot. And then on the other side, to try to help a little bit with the pH and to add that extra boost from the calcium and alkalinity, I'm running 6,000 mLs of Kalkwasser on a 24-hour period with a break in the morning time around 7 o'clock for like 10 minutes. I'm also using the Tropic Marin Bacto Balance as well as the Element MP to carbon dose to help try to keep those nutrients around the same range without too much fluctuation, which is about 10 nitrates and about 0.71 to 0.74 on the phosphates, which I know to some people seems a little high, but every time I start to take that phosphate level down too far below that, maybe about below 0.5, the corals don't seem to be too happy. I'm going to run it now on feed mode just to show the difference from the daylight spectrum, which is on now with no filter, and what it looks like when the blue lights are on, because I am a fan of the blue lights and I love to just see the fluorescent proteins of my corals because they just pop. And why would anybody want to get into this hobby and not see the corals pop the way that they do, unlike when they're under full spectrum? So just give me a second. I'm going to go and do my one button press. It's going to slow the flow down for my Neros, and it's going to switch my lights from this daylight spectrum over to a more blue period. And then I'll add the lens and do a little bit more close up so you can see some of the corals a little better. And now for the magic. Sorry about the lens. I got a little bit of scratches on it now because I didn't put it up properly, but you can still see. Of course, I got my Endophilia and Sinarina gardens going. They kind of like it right there, although sometimes they do fight with the torches because we all know the torches can be a little bit mean. I still got a few pieces that I haven't rearranged in place up on the frag rack on that side. And I got to get that down soon because I do not like having frag racks in my tank outside of the ones that blend in because they look like rocks. I don't know if you can see, but my walt doesn't have any of those rainbow colors that it normally has. Because like I said, I think cutting the flow down and trying to take my nutrients down started to deprive it of what it was accustomed to. And then it started fading in color, but it's slowly picking back up. They've all been doing good and starting to regrow ever since I changed the middle of the scape. They puddling out and grabbing hold to the rocks around them, which is going to give me that extra support and give them enough space to spread out the way that they like. I actually intend, as far as fish goes, add a few more mollies in. I used to have more mollies in the tank, but a buddy of mine wanted them and didn't have the time to get them to transition over to saltwater, so I gave them away, and this guy's been lonely ever since. I also took out all of my clownfish because although I love clownfish, they tend to try to host all of my corals, and not all of my corals are happy when they do this. And I used to be a larger proponent on saltwater fish, but now I choose my corals first. So the corals come first in my tank, and then the fish come second. And as far as the fish, I have a 6-line ras, 2 of the yellowtail damsels, a pair of Bengal cardinals, which do breed occasionally, and I have caught a couple of the babies and given them away, and I hope all of them are doing good. I have a yellow tang, a Scopus tang, and a Tamini tang. I used to have 2 yellow tangs, and all of these guys I've raised since they were, I would say, nickel size to a quarter size. But after they got to about this 3-inch mark, my yellow tangs stopped getting along with each other, and then they started bickering. So I rehomed it with a friend of mine. And once I finish getting some of these corals placed in better positions and not looking like they're thrown all over the place, because as you can see, I'm pretty well stocked up, or overstocked in some people's eyes, on corals, I can then keep my hand out of the tank and let them get back to doing what they do best and just taking care of this bad boy. This is just an update so you can see the progression of the changes that I've made. And also, since I took out that rock on this side, you can see down this side of the tank way better. And I love this view much more than I did previously. So once again, it's just an update and letting you know a little bit about how I'm taking care of this tank. Maybe next time I can go further in depth as to my personal philosophies on how I run reefing and the things that I suggest to some of my local reefers that I've ended up being friends with. And we can go from there. So until next time, I hope all of you remember to get inside your tank when something is wrong and fix it, because it can't fix itself.